Hi guys, this is Mario from Dual Core Studio. Last time we did animations with Shield and now let's add some functionality to this. I will use this image as my Shield indicator, but first let's organize some things. Go to Canvas, then right click, create empty object. I will call this stats. I will change pivot point and position to the upper left corner by holding Shift and Alt. And now I will move my hearts to stats as child object. Now click on stats, right click, UI image. As I said, I will use this image. And I will also change pivot point and position to the upper left corner. Maybe change name to Shield HP and change scale to 0.7, 0.7. Move our shield below hearts, and I think that looks good. Next thing, I want to move my health UI script from heart HP to stats. Great. Now let's go to scripts, open our stats, and here I will copy some things and change names of functions that we made in previous tutorials. So if you don't know what I'm doing, please go check them out, but I will quickly try to explain. So I need some value that I can work with. As my health, I need also my shield value. So I need one private variable and I need public maximum value for my shield. Now I will copy this health and rename this to shield. I want to return my shield value and I want to clamp my shield value between let's say -100 and maximum value. So max shield. And also I need to create another function, so public void set shield. So when I call this function, I want to set my shield value to maximum value. Now let's go to health UI script. Here we will change shield image sprites as we change our shield value. So just as hearts. So we need a public image, shield image, and I need sprites that I will use. So I need sprite array, shield sprite, and now I can copy this function and change name to changing UI shield. And in this function we want to check if our shield value is greater than 0, not health. And if it is, we want to make sure that our image is displayed. So we want to say that shield image is enabled. And we also want to change sprite of our image based on how much shield value we have. So shield sprite, and here we also need to change to shield. We will add one part, so we will say else. Then we want to disable our image because our shield value will be below 0 or 0. So copy this and change this to false. Now we can call this function in update, changing UI shield. So, and we also want to disable our image when our player is dead. So we will also copy this here. Now let's go back to Unity, select our stats, and here for shield image we will use this shield HP, change shield sprite array to 2, and for 1 shield value I will use this, and for 2 shield value I will use this sprite. We can go on player, and on player stats we can set our max shield to 2. Next thing, go to shield and click on tag, add tag, and I want to add shield tag. Add tag shield. Let's select our player and go to player script. Here at the start of the game we want to set our shield value to 0. So player stats that shield equals to 0. And we want to set this value to maximum when we pick up shield. So when we enter trigger of our shield, then we want to call that function. So if other that game object that compare tag, so shield, and then if it is shield, then we want to player stats that set shield, and that will set our shield value to maximum. Don't forget that our shield also has on trigger enter, and here we set our player controls shield to true, that is for animations, and we destroy shield. So let's try this out. If we click play, wait to compile, so if we click play, there is no shield image, but if we pick up shield, great, we have image. Let's change sprite of our player, just for example. So I need sprite with shield. I will use this shield idle sprite. And what we want to do, let's say if arrow hits us in this area where is shield, then we want to decrease shield value. But if it hits us from behind, then we want to decrease our health value. And in order to do that, we need to add 2 colliders. So select player and add component, box collider 2D, and select is trigger. Resize it so it will fit our shield like this. And we can now change a sprite to crouch shield, and now add another box to the collider, is trigger, and resize it. Nice. Now let's go to our collider control script. Here we will add these 2 colliders, so we need public box to the collider, standing shield or stand shield, and public box collider to the crouch shield. When we start our game, we want to make sure that these colliders are disabled, so stand shield that enabled equals to false, and crouch shield enabled equals to false. Next thing, let's say if we are crouching, if we use crouch, then first we want to check if we have our shield, and we need to check that with our bool shield from player controls. So we need a reference to that. So collider controls, we need player controls, player C. Okay, we have it. So if player C that shield equals to true, then we want to say that our crouch shield is true because we are using crouch, and our stand shield is equal to false. And if our shield bool is false, then we want to disable these two colliders. So let's set this to false. We can copy this here. Here we are standing or running. So we need to disable our crouch, set this to false, and turn on our stand shield, so true. And if we are jumping, we will use our standing collider. So copy this when we are jumping. Now let's go back to Unity and add these colliders to script. This is my stand collider and this is my crouch collider. Now if we play, so there is no collider on player that we use as shield. Sorry, we hit arrow. We will set this back, try again, go to shield, select our player, and now as we can see there is shield trigger collider. So let's crouch and jump. It works. Last thing that we need to do is to create another damage function. So let's go to player script, and here we will say public void damage with shield, and we also need one variable damage. First thing, we want to store our shield value to some other variable. So let's say int help shield equals to our shield value. And then we want to decrease our actual shield value by damage. And now we will check few things. First, if our shield value after we decreased, of course, is below 0, so in other words, if damage is greater than our shield value, then we also need to decrease our health. So player stats dot health minus equals difference between damage and help shield value. So how this works? Let's say that our shield value is 2 and damage is 4. So first we store shield value 2 to this help shield. Then we decrease our shield by 4 and our shield value is minus 2, so it's below 0. Then we need to decrease our health by 2, and we do that with this line of code because damage is 4 minus our help shield value is 2 equals to 2. So we decreased our health, and then we need to check if our health is below or equal to 0. Then we want to destroy our player game object. and else if our player stats that shield equals to 0, then you can play some sound, sorry, 2 equals or something, but and else if shield value is greater than damage, we can also play some sound, or we can debug that log and say our shield is strong, we are protected. Great. Next thing, we want to call this function when arrow enters trigger. So on trigger enter, I will copy this because we have on collision enter and we need arrow tag. So if other that game object is arrow, then we want to use damage with shield function and use arrow damage. So on collision enter, when we collide with arrow, we use ordinary damage player function, but when arrow enters trigger, so that means that we have our shield, then we use damage with shield function. And last thing, what we need to do is to set up a reference to player controls, because we need to turn off these animations by setting a shield to false, because when we pick up we set this to true, and then we need to return it to false when we destroy our shield. So let's go to player script and say player controls player C on start, sorry, we can go to awake, player C equals get component player controls, and here when our shield value is below 0, then we want to set our player C shield to false, and that will cancel our shield animation. Also add this line of code when our shield value is equal to 0. And we are ready to go, I think. So let's go back to Unity. Let's check arrow damage. Let's set arrow damage to 4. So after we pick up shield, we will have 2 shield and 3 HP. So if we hit arrow, we will only need 1 heart. So let's click play, maximize on play. Let's pick up shield and we expect only 1 heart. Great, that works. Let's try this to 2. Okay, and now we can try to collide with arrow from behind. So I will click play and move my arrow to my player. First I will pick up shield and then I will move my arrow, so I will directly decrease my HP by 2, so I also expect 1 heart. Great, it works. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and see you soon.